debate around embryo screening. It's a very hot topic, of course, but first of all, before I begin, let me just emphasize towards a certain notion that medicine, as any other practice or any other field, is simply evolutionary, which means it consists of a history that is outdated, a history that is simply merely now it's just a chronicle, that kind of history. So I'm not trying to debunk history. History is very important, of course, but evolution has always taught us that holding on to history without revolutionizing it is simply futile. And yeah, of course, we as doctors are very responsible for revolutionizing this specific field. Take into consideration, for example, schizophrenic patients in the 1930s were treated by lobotomy. For those of you who are not familiar with lobotomy, lobotomy is a form of psychosurgery performed for schizophrenics, which include separating the temporal lobe from the frontal lobe by hammering a screw through the skull. How are schizophrenic patients treated today? I'm sure by a much more humane and advanced technique. Not so very far away from this kind of truth is embryo screening. Embryo screening presents to all of us a very advanced and unique technique for screening unborn infants, and therefore it could only promise us.
Reem, you want to accept it?
So what I was saying is that embryo screening promises us very productive outcomes and perhaps even breakthrough development for cures for the unborn offspring's defects. The sort of defects that a person could lead without which a person could lead a happy and fulfilling and productive life. The sort of defects which are considered by many of us genetic curses, such as autism. I mean, no any other child has ever done something wrong to deserve autism. Furthermore, I think we should support embryo screening, if not as a method of treatment, then merely as, at the very least, as a method of research, because it helps us study in depth the genetic.
Point of information, please.
You want to accept it?
The genetic pathology and physiology of the unborn offspring and its diseases. And therefore, as you just asked my colleague Noor about the Down syndrome, sure, I mean, there's no current treatment for Down syndrome, but if we stop the research, I can guarantee you that no cure will result in the end. Furthermore, yeah, like I said, it's just like shutting down an entire study of medicine with all of its benefits and probabilities, or merely questioning its mortality and its morality. May I add one thing about abortion? Okay, since many people who oppose embryo screening are probably taking side of abortion, let me just say that embryo screening is not synonymous at all with abortion, and embryo screening is actually performed in different fertility clinics in different countries in different states. So let me just say that by legalizing it, we're only trying to regulate it and controlling it, mostly by controlling abortion.
Point of information. What if you discover the defect? What if you discover the defect later in pregnancy?
What effect?
The defect. The genetic defect later in pregnancy.
Yeah,
After implantation.
Yeah, after implantation. Okay. Let me just propose something that the Swiss Prime Minister's health secretary has proposed a plan for embryo screening. He proposed two rules. First rule, that in a country in which embryo screening was legalized, if the offspring was proven to possess an allele or a gene of a debilitating yet non-fatal disease or a defect, then the parents have no right to abort the child as long as the government of such country would provide the parents with means of physical and mental support for raising the child, such as wheelchairs, prepaid weekly therapies, and enrollment in special needs schools and courses and that kind of stuff. If the disease proved to be fatal, extremely fatal, such as, for example, a congenital heart disease, phalanstetrology, then if the patients are unable financially to cure the infant, then the government would then step in financially.
Point for information. So it's all about money.
No, it's not about money because, first of all, embryo screening is a very advanced and, let's just say, difficult technique. And,
1 minute left.
okay, and I wouldn't expect third world countries to have that kind of technique or that kind of medication. It's not about money because first world countries, like, they don't care about money as long as they care first about civilians. And they're
You're not taking first violation because you're discussing and we said no discussions. So
Point
thank
of
you.
information, please. You said that the government takes care of
30 seconds left.
the people with genetic diseases. So why do we have to?
If only if the genetic disease is non-fatal, debilitating, and the patient and the parents are financially unable to deal with it.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Ron.